When I was married, the idea of being single terrified me. Despite the fact that the marriage I was in lacked affection, intimacy was non-existent, and she was perpetually pissed off for reasons I have no idea about. But the thought of going out there and being single, being on my own, was terrifying. It was the hell I knew was better than the hell I didn't. And the idea that I would have to give up my family, give up my home, give up my life, and go out into the world and make it on my own just seemed impossible. Today, I want to talk to the married guys. The guys who are in that place right now, where you're thinking exactly those thoughts. That this marriage may not be perfect. It may not be what I wanted. It may not be satisfying me. But at least it's better than the alternative of being out there in the world trying to figure myself out. Because I think the answers I'm going to give you are going to be surprising. I think that you're going to hear my experience and understand that a lot of what you believe just isn't true. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. Before I got married, I made a vow to myself that I would not get divorced. Because you see, my father got divorced. And his father before him was divorced too. And I don't want to say I disrespected them or I lost respect for them, but on some level, as a man, as a young man, observing them and thinking about what did they do wrong? How did they fail that ended them in this position where their wives, my mother, my grandmother, two women that I have a lot of respect for and I love very much, decided to leave them. So when I got married, I made sure that I had way more experience than either of them, or even both of them combined when it came to women. I had dated, I had been with lots and lots and lots of women, I had had lots of relationships. I was not getting married at a young age. I was like 32, 33 years old, I think, when I got married. Yeah, 33. I married a woman who was 30, 31 actually at the time. So I had taken all the precautions. I thought that I had made it impossible for myself to make that same sacred error. So when confronted with a bad relationship and seeing my marriage not satisfying me, I decided there was no way that I was going to allow myself to get a divorce. There was no way I was going to go down the same path that they went. Because I figured, if nothing else, so long as I never quit playing the game, I couldn't lose. So if I just stayed in there long enough, eventually things would work themselves out. Eventually things would get better. I could not have been more wrong. What I didn't understand is that there are some things that once they're broken, they just can't be fixed. Like there's no amount of glue, there's no amount of apologies, there's no amount of I'll do what you want, I'll satisfy whatever needs you have that will smooth over whatever's broken. Because it's so profound and so fundamental to the relationship that no matter what you do to it, it's like, you know, that old saying about putting lipstick on a pig, it's basically that. You're just trying to dress it up and make it look like it's right, and it's not. And we did that for a very long time in our marriage. For at least 10 years, we were pretending that everything was fine. That everything was just fine. For the neighbors, for the kids, for anyone who asked, for our extended families. We just went along and pretended to be the happy married couple. That's what she wanted, and I wanted her to be happy, so I played along. What a huge, giant mistake that was. Because what I didn't realize at that time was that I was spending my most valuable resource on an endeavor that was doomed to fail. And that's the thing that I didn't fully grasp about why staying in that hell was worse than leaving it. Because time that we have here as living, breathing people on this planet is extremely limited. And my hope that my marriage would fix itself on some point was misplaced. maybe I didn't fully understand it at the time, but I think there's something deep down inside where you just sort of know that it's just done, that you're just out. You've just got to leave. You've just got to start over. But I didn't want to come to terms with that. When she did leave, and I was faced with that existential crisis of, oh my God, now I am single, now I'm alone, now I am sort of on this uncharted land, and I'm blind to a certain degree. And every step I take, I'm walking out into the darkness, trying to figure out where I'm going, not knowing if each step is going to land on solid ground or whether I'm just going to fall into some enormous cavern of despair. Well, what I learned after 6 years of this is that there is no cavern of despair. Like, the opportunity for a wonderful, fulfilling, all-encompassing, better life is right there in front of us, and we just don't realize it. The fear is greater than the reality. Do you know what I mean? Was it FDR who said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself? That absolutely has a lot of precedent, or a lot of value in this situation, because that truly is, I think, what most people are facing, is that the fear of what may happen holds them back and prevents them from taking those first steps. So I'm not going to go through the entire recovery process here. I've done other videos on that. I've got a book on that. You can pick it up. There's a link at the end of the video about it. There's certainly one on the description. What I want to talk about to you here are the benefits that made it all worthwhile. Because certainly it's painful. There's no question about it. I mean, there's some difficulty you're going to face. Some of you guys are going to have to move away from your kids. I mean, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. There are certain parts of this that just suck, and there is no way to avoid the suck. But that being said, once you get through the suck, you'll find that on the other side of it, there is enormous opportunity for you. I think it was a guy named Ryan Holiday wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And that is one of my favorite books, because when you see the problem that you have lying before you, like your marriage, we see it as this obstacle, this problem, this overwhelming, darkness that you have to either go through or go around or avoid or deal with in your life. And the truth of the matter is, if that obstacle, whatever it may be, and in this case it's your marriage or your divorce, it's really windy today, is what catapults you on to the next thing. So once you get through this, once you get past it, once you move through whatever it is that you believe is making your life difficult or is preventing you from living your life completely, on the other side of it, there's opportunity. There's like an undiscovered country that is your authentic life. And if you can just push through this process, this part of it, you can find that undiscovered country, and you can find who you really are, and you can finally start living your life from a more authentic and fulfilling place. In my situation, the first aha I had was that my relationship with my kids improved overnight, significantly. Everything about our relationship just got a lot better. Now, my kids were teenagers when she left. So, when you've got young kids, you've got a whole other set of concerns there. And obviously, your relationship with them is going to be hopefully solidified by some kind of a court order or some kind of a separation agreement that you have. But when my kids, they were left with me. So I had custody of them by default since she left. But yeah, my relationship with them improved significantly. And I was able to start discovering my authentic self through my relationship with them right off the bat. Because I was no longer having to back up my ex-wife. I was no longer having to be a co-parent with her anymore. I could now parent my kids the way I wanted to parent them. And that was such a revelation for how wonderful it felt. The next thing I recognized right away was that I was no longer carrying this heaviness about me. Because when she was there, I didn't realize it, but the pain was so significant that it actually affected every part of my life. I liken it to when you're doing a set of isolation work, say like leg extensions when you're working out. And you get to a place where the pain gets so great that it doesn't get any worse. You know, like when you're squeezing out every additional rep, say you're doing 15 or 20 repetitions to failure, and when you get to about 13 or 14, the pain is getting pretty good. The burn is in there hard. But as you push toward 20 reps, it doesn't get any worse. It stays about the same. And I think that's what happens to us in our marriages, is that the pain only reaches a certain point, after which point you just kind of go numb. The pain doesn't get any worse. And so then you just learn to live with it, day to day, all the time. And when she was gone, and after I came to the conclusion that there was no reconciling, it was done. Once I had gotten that whole idea of reconciliation out of my head, and I realized that she was gone and gone for good, it was like I could breathe again. It was like I could suddenly, I felt like I'd lost 25 pounds. I mean, I just suddenly felt so light. There was almost a sense of happiness. Like, it was like when you were a teenager and your parents were gone away for the weekend and you had the house to yourself and all your friends were coming over for a party. It was that sense of giddiness, like, oh, I'm gonna have such a good time. Now at the same time, there's this voice in your head that says, no man, you're divorced, you're getting a divorce, she's left you, you're a piece of shit, you know? But the happiness in me was louder than the judgmental part of me. And it was that sense of happiness that I eventually just started to hold on to. It was like, it became my identity. Now, that didn't happen right away. It took a few months before there was even that little slight hint of the happiness. But by the time I got to 6 months, that happiness was occupying more than 50% of my life. And by the time a year passed, oh, there was no going back. I was on summer vacation forever. You know what I mean? School's out forever. And I will never have to worry about that shit again. The heaviness was gone. The lightness was there. And once that heaviness was gone and the lightness was there, my mind filled with ideas and thoughts and goals and things I wanted to do with this time, how I wanted to live my life, who I wanted to be with, who I wanted to date, friends I wanted to have, activities I wanted to be involved in. Everything kind of opened up for me. That is what being in a bad marriage does, is it locks down your creativity. It locks down your dreaming, your ability to even dream a better life, because everything gets pressed through the filter of this bad marriage. And when you're looking at your life through the filter of a bad marriage, everything just seems like shit. It's just dark. It just doesn't feel like there's any possibilities there. But when you're single, you give yourself the gift of possibility. Think about that for a second. You have the gift of possibility, where before you were saddled with the burden of impossibility. That is the biggest difference between being married in a bad marriage and being single and free and on your own. That's the difference. Now, that's not where it ends. There's a lot more to this, but that was the first real shining light that went off in my head that made me realize that I still had a lot of life to live. I spent that first year going through the whole recovery thing, the acceptance, the appreciation, looking at my attachments, and then getting to that place where I was setting my vision and my goals. That's when things really started to click. Now, it wasn't overnight. I probably spent another year, maybe a year and a half, really starting to piece my life together. But it was so much more enjoyable doing it on my own with the world of possibilities available to me that I didn't have before. I doubled down on my work. I grew my business at twice the rate. I didn't have to worry about times of day that people were coming and going. For those of you who don't know, I was a health coach and personal trainer. And after the shutdown from COVID, my business just took off. I was booked solid. I think I was doing like 50 plus sessions a week. So at 200 sessions a month at an average of about $70 a session, I just started raking it in, and I was just working day and night. My business was growing fast. Oh, actually, probably more like an average of $80 a session. I'm thinking about how much money I was making back then. Because when I did it at people's houses, I charged like 100, and when they came to my house, it was like 70. But nevertheless, it was a ton of money coming in. And I knew that I couldn't keep trading dollars for time, so I needed to come up with something different. And I just kept exploring different possibilities and avenues for me to increase my wealth. and find things that I enjoy doing at the same time. I was able to spend so much time with my kids and help them launch their dreams. And I was able to give them the kind of encouragement and feedback that they needed to take the steps to perform the task or to go toward the dreams that they had for themselves. And I know that if my ex-wife had been there, she would have been a naysayer on so many of these issues. She would have been holding them back with doubt and questioning their judgment and trying to help them understand all the risks and the problems with what their dreams were. And I didn't do that. I just trusted that they would have the opportunity to do the things that they wanted to do. You know when you're at the dentist and you need to get x-rays, and they throw this lead vest over your chest, it weighs like, I don't know, 30 or 40 pounds. And you lay in there and you feel the weight of this vest on you. My first thought is, well, that's not covering everything. Like, there's some stuff down there that I'd like some coverage for if something's going to get fried, you know. But and then when they take it off, you can feel the lightness about it. That's what it's like when your wife leaves. It's like you've taken off that lead vest. Like, now you're free to move about the planet. You're free to move about your life. And so long as you're in a bad marriage, it's impossible to fully recognize how much damage it's doing to your experience, your life, your sense of who you really are. I've talked a lot about authenticity and fulfillment in my other videos, but I can't find the word to do it justice, because when you're living your life from an authentic place, everything falls into place. Everything seems just naturally flowing. It's like you're in the flow of life, and all these things just seem to go in your direction. And when you're fighting a fight in a marriage, when you're constantly fighting to make this thing work, when you're sort of paddling upstream, if you will, it's just so much harder. Everything in life just seems so much more difficult. But when you turn that boat around, that metaphorical boat around, and you just let it go, and you just let the stream carry you authentically in the direction that it wants to go, oh my God, your life just gets so much better. Anyway, so for you married guys who are in that state of mind where you're thinking, maybe this isn't the right thing, maybe I made a mistake, maybe I'm in a bad marriage, maybe I'm headed toward divorce, don't allow the fear of what comes after marriage to prevent you from taking that step. It's going to be tough. There's no way around that. But the amount of pain that you experience versus the amount of payoff that you get is insignificant. You're not going to reflect back on the pain of your divorce 5 years later and go, oh my God, I still haven't gotten over that. Promise you. Within a year, 2 years at tops, you're on your own. You're living your life. That marriage is behind you. You don't even think about it most of the time. Your life is headed in your direction. You're going downstream. Everything is flowing in your direction. And I think that my experience is not unique. I think that anyone can have this experience. I think that it's just a matter of you making the decision for yourself that that's what you want. And you start honoring that authentic self inside you, and you trust it to lead you in the direction that you want to go. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you can hear it with all this wind. It's been pretty damn windy today. I'm down low in this stream valley, so the wind's kind of in the trees above my head, so it's just sort of echoing down here. But yeah, it gets pretty raucous sometimes. Anyway, if you want to do some coaching, you know, I do have coaching for you. If you're going through this or you're trying to make a decision, you need some insight, you want to talk about it, please reach out to me. You know, I've worked with hundreds of guys since I started this channel, and I think I've really made a difference in a lot of their lives. I think I've really been able to help a lot of guys come to terms with their experience and either improve their relationship or make the decision to move on without her. Anyway, till next time, remember, like and subscribe, and until next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.